I woke up this morning with tears in my eyes because of baseball. It's not just because I was up until well after midnight watching last night's 18-inning, almost 7-hour-long Game 3 of the World Series. And it's not just because I've loved baseball my entire life, especially since 3 Minnesota Twins players visited me in the hospital when I was there for 3 weeks when I was 7. That's part of it, though. It's because I had realized exactly what I'd witnessed last night. For those of you who might say that baseball's not political, brace yourself, because everything is political. And sometimes the things you most think are not political end up being the most political of all. It happened last night in the game between Los Angeles, a city attacked, insulted, and invaded by Trump's government all summer long. A city Trump spent 150 million taxpayer dollars to invade. One of the most diverse cities in the world. And a Los Angeles Dodgers baseball team with a fan base that is about 50% Hispanic. And the Toronto Blue Jays, a Canadian team representing a country Trump is punishing more than any other country in the world with his economic policy. A team representing Ontario, the province represented by Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, who just spent tens of millions of dollars trolling Trump with an anti-isolationist Ronald Reagan ad. It got under Trump's thin skin so deeply he took his ball and went home. This game felt like a time capsule. An almost 7-hour-long reminder of what this world is like when the United States is true to itself. Memory from an alternate universe untainted by the hate and destruction from the Trump regime. This game was magic. Shohei Ohtani, the greatest baseball player who ever lived, greater than Babe Ruth, and it's not close. A Japanese immigrant living in California who doesn't speak English. Hit 2 home runs and 2 doubles in his first 4 at-bats, which on its own tied a record for extra base hits in a single postseason game. He was then walked in his next 5 at-bats because the Blue Jays pitchers were that scared of him. Those 5 walks also set a record, and it also meant that he got on base 9 out of 9 at-bats, setting another World Series and postseason record. In fact, the last time any player in any Major League Baseball game got on base 9 times in the same game was 1942. Shohei also hit multiple home runs in this game, for the 3rd time this postseason alone, setting another Major League Baseball record. This game included 19 pitchers from both teams. That's a record. In fact, both teams ran out of pitchers, and they were both only 1 inning away from having to use position players like second basemen or left fielders to pitch, or having to do the unthinkable and using a starter from a future game to pitch now, which would have thrown out their arm. One of the heroes in this game from the Blue Jays is a guy named Alejandro Kirk, a Mexican immigrant born in Tijuana. Kirk is the slowest runner in all of Major League Baseball, but he's also one of the best hitters and catchers, and it was his 3-run home run earlier in the game that allowed them to go into extra innings. Kirk was signed to the Blue Jays in 2016 from the Mexican League for $7,500. After spending his entire career with the Blue Jays, earned his way to a $58 million contract just earlier this year. In this game, we also saw the greatest relief pitcher duel in World Series history, with Eric Lauer of the Blue Jays and Will Klein of the Dodgers each throwing more than twice as many pitches as they'd ever pitched in a single game before, and 2 guys who gave up a combined 0 runs in those 4 innings pitched. Right as the game got to its record-tying 18th inning, 3 a.m. Toronto time, and almost midnight in Los Angeles, as the Dodgers had completely run out of pitchers, the Dodgers were preparing for the unthinkable to put in Yoshi Yamamoto, another Japanese immigrant who also doesn't speak English, a guy who only earlier this week pitched a complete 9-inning game, throwing over 100 pitches and winning for the Dodgers. They were preparing to let Yoshi pitch as a reliever because Yoshi offered himself up so that they could save Shohei Ohtani's arm for Game 4. Just as they were about to have to cross this bridge, the game was going to turn into some sort of Frankenstein thing. Freddie Freeman, a 6'5" farm boy looking dude with chiclet white teeth, a 36-year-old veteran who spent 12 seasons with the Atlanta Braves before spending the next 4 seasons with the Dodgers, and a guy who last year hit the first walk-off grand slam in World Series history, steps up in the bottom of the 18th inning. His 9th at-bat, he hits a foul. He takes 3 balls. Then he watches a strike go by, leaving him with a full count, 3 balls, 2 strikes. And then on the next pitch, a no-doubter 406-foot home run to center field. A guy named Free Man, winning the game for a city of angels and immigrants, while at the same time becoming the only Major League Baseball player in history to win 2 different World Series games with walk-off home runs. This single World Series game, with its combined 19 pitchers and 25 batters, representing 21 different states, and I shit you not, 17 of the players came from blue states and 16 from red states, plus players from Puerto Rico, Cuba, Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Canada, Japan, and Mexico, in a city where 50% of the population is Hispanic. This game is what happens when people let barriers go, to find pure joy through a game that is rightly and unironically considered the great American pastime. This is why I woke up in tears. I remembered why I love baseball, and baseball helped me remember what it should feel like to be an American.